Sometimes a story comes along that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. Picture this. Someone goes to a doctor with these really severe symptoms. We're talking dizziness, brain fog, hearing strange sounds. But every single medical test, every scan comes back completely normal. Well, this isn't fiction. It's a real-life medical mystery that has stumped some of the best minds out there for years. So today, we're going to play detective and piece this incredible story together. So here's the big question we're tackling. What happens when something invisible, some kind of force, actually injures the brain? I mean, how do you even begin to look for evidence when there's no hit, no wound, nothing to see on the surface? It's like you're hunting for a ghost that leaves very real damage in its wake. And this is the exact puzzle at the heart of that mystery you've probably heard of, Havana syndrome. Okay, so the official name for this is anomalous health incidents, or AHIs for short. Basically, it's this whole cluster of really strange symptoms that just pop up out of nowhere. One minute, a person is fine. The next, they feel this weird pressure or hear a bizarre sound, and boom. From that point on, they're dealing with these chronic, life-altering neurological issues. All right, so to solve a mystery like this, you need detectives, right? Well, let's meet our first one, Dr. Ragini Verma. She's a neuroimaging expert, and her whole strategy was to treat the brain itself like a crime scene, using incredible technology to go in and essentially dust for fingerprints. So what did she do? Dr. Verma and her team gathered a group of these affected people and basically put them into some of the most powerful, cutting-edge MRI scanners on the planet. And we're not talking about your standard issue MRI here. This was a deep, deep forensic dive, a hunt for any tiny physical clue, any measurable sign of what went wrong inside their heads. And they found something, a really big something. On average, the brains of these patients were missing about 27 cubic centimeters of white matter. Now, that number, 27.39 centimeters cubed, might not sound like a lot, but think about the brain. It's this incredibly dense, perfectly structured organ. Losing that much is like taking a handful of wires out of a supercomputer. It is a huge, huge deal for the brain's internal communication network. And here, you can actually see what they found. Look at this scan. All of those blue areas, that's where the white matter is missing. Just think of white matter as all the wiring, the cabling, that connects the different parts of your brain so they can talk to each other. And these images are showing clear as day that a significant chunk of that wiring is just gone. But this is where the plot really thickens. So the wiring, the white matter, was shrinking. You'd expect the processing centers, the gray matter, to shrink too, right? Well, they didn't. The overall volume stayed pretty much the same. But get this, one specific part, the cerebellum, actually got bigger. Not only that, but it was showing signs of changes at a microscopic level, telling scientists that the very structure of the cells there was being reorganized. And here is the aha moment. You know what the cerebellum is responsible for? Balance, coordination, your sense of where you are in space. The exact physical spot in the brain that was showing damage was the part that controls the very symptoms these people were complaining about, the dizziness, the feeling of being off balance. All of a sudden, these subjective feelings had a concrete physical source. Okay, so we have strong evidence that an injury occurred, but we still don't know how. What could possibly cause this? To get closer to that answer, we have to bring in our second detective, the late Dr. Michael Persinger. And his work, well, his work is where things get really, really weird. So Persinger's whole approach is kind of a mind-bender. He wasn't looking at living, breathing, thinking brains. No, he was studying post-mortem brain tissue. I'm talking about slices of brain, chemically preserved, with no blood, no electricity, no life. For all intents and purposes, it's just inert matter. And this leads to a question that honestly sounds impossible. Can a piece of dead brain tissue, something that might have been sitting on a shelf for decades, can it still react to an electromagnetic field? I mean, everything we know about biology says absolutely not. No way. Well, get ready for this. Persinger's research showed the answer is yes, it can. When he exposed these non-living tissue samples to very specific complex magnetic fields, parts of the tissue actually generated an electrical current. They resonated. It was as if the dead tissue was acting like a perfectly tuned antenna, picking up one specific station and ignoring all the other noise. So think about what this means. It suggests that the brain's ability to interact with electromagnetic fields isn't just about it being alive and having neurons firing.
No, it's something built into the very physical structure of the brain itself. The shape, the materials, it's designed from the ground up to be a biological resonator. It's an antenna, whether it's turned on or not.
Okay, let's take a breath here. We have two completely different sets of clues from our two detectives. Detective Verma finds physical damage in living people. Detective Persinger finds a bizarre hidden property in dead tissue. So, what happens when we put these two pieces together? This is really the heart of it all. How on earth can the weird properties of a dead piece of brain tissue explain a very real injury in a living person? How does the ghost in the tissue solve the crime? And this, right here, is where the two stories collide and it all clicks into place. Look, Persinger discovers that white matter acts like a waveguide. It channels EM energy. And what did Verma find? That white matter is the very thing being destroyed in these patients. Then Persinger finds that gray matter acts like a resonator, that it vibrates at certain frequencies. And what did Verma find? That gray matter, specifically in the cerebellum, swells up, maybe in response to that resonance. It's a perfect match. The vulnerability Persinger found lines up exactly with the injury Verma found. Let's boil it all down. Persinger's work shows us the how. It reveals that the brain has this built-in vulnerability because of its physical design as an antenna. And Verma's work shows us the what, the terrible results of that vulnerability when a specific, targeted energy hits it. One detective found the design flaw, and the other found the evidence of the crime. But no good detective story is ever that simple, is it? This one isn't over. In fact, there's a huge twist, because this search for answers has become a really intense scientific debate. So just this year, in 2024, a massive study comes out from the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, and it made huge waves because their conclusion was they couldn't find any significant evidence of brain injury on the MRIs. And for a lot of people, that was it. Case closed. Maybe it was all psychosomatic. But science, real science, is all about double-checking the work. So another team of scientists got a hold of that same data from the NIH study, and they noticed something really important. The original study had lumped all kinds of patients together. So these new researchers decided to redo the analysis, but this time they focused only on the core group of patients who had clear, clinically confirmed signs of injury. And what do you think they found? It was amazing. When they looked at just that core group, they found subtle but clear damage in the exact same brain regions that Dr. Verma had pointed out years ago. We're talking about crucial pathways for communication and balance. So the evidence wasn't missing after all. It was just incredibly subtle. You had to know precisely where and how to look for it. So after all this, what's the bottom line? What should we take away from this detective story? Well, first, it seems pretty clear that this is a real physical brain injury, just a new kind that doesn't involve a physical impact. Second, the signature of this injury is incredibly subtle, hidden deep in the brain's wiring. And maybe the biggest takeaway of all is this incredible idea that our brains are fundamentally biological antennas, and that very design might be the key to understanding this whole mystery. And that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. This entire investigation started because of an injury, right? But in the process, it might have uncovered a fundamental truth about how our brains are built. If the human brain is in fact a biological antenna, it just makes you wonder, what other signals is it designed to pick up?